Hello, everybody. This is Shubhankar and Colonel Sanjay Pande. We are on to our fourth episode. And as we promised, we are going to start off this session by talking about thinking, which is probably the most important skill for an entrepreneur to learn. This is something that I have personally been booted on a lot by Colonel Pandey in the last 3 years ever since I started working full time with him. It's a topic of deep personal hurt for me, but at the same time, it's something that has really transformed my life to a level that I couldn't have imagined before. So thinking is actually that transformational a skill and that core skill, because actually, if you think about it, it's like the deepest level of the operating system of an entrepreneur, that each and every skill that you do as an entrepreneur can be replaced at some level. If you're not a great salesman, you can always bring on a good partner who can handle the sales stuff for you or the technical stuff for you, whatever it may be. But if you can't think, if you don't have vision, if you don't have foresight, if you aren't able to think far ahead, not able to think macro, not able to think micro, not able to think simultaneously and sequentially at the same time, it's just very difficult for you to become an entrepreneur. And that's what I realized over the last 3 years, that slowly, even though I learned a lot of things, this one thing of when it came to thinking, I would always get booted by Colonel Pandey. And it would simply be, why couldn't you think like this? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? You should have thought about this better and that better. And at the end of the day, you always feel like the biggest idiot on the planet. But the point is that thinking is just that difficult, but also just that transformational. Another thing that I just want to, before we start on to the main video, just to emphasize is that 99% of people are like this. I was like this when I started out. If you just think about your day, most of us, we get up in the morning, we shower, we get ready for work, we go to work, we do our job, come back, watch some Netflix, talk to a few friends, and go back to sleep. So the entire day, you're either consuming content, you're doing some work, or you're sleeping and eating. But apart from that, we don't really set aside time for thinking actively or using our brain actively. So it's just like going to the gym and working out. If you don't work your brain muscles, it's going to be extremely hard for you to have all of these mental frameworks and use them effectively, which are so important for an entrepreneur. So this was the aim of our entire series of videos. The upcoming series of videos that we're going to make is to teach you and give you these tools that are so important, which come under the broad umbrella of thinking critically, thinking actively. What are the things that every entrepreneur should learn when it comes to thinking? So, sir, what do you say? Should we start off?
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite a good takeoff that Shubhankar gives. This episode onwards, it's all going to be about thinking. Two things before I start. I will question your existence with only question. If you one question, if you can't think, if you can't think, why do you have to exist? What's the difference between you and the grazing cattle? There's no difference. The only difference between that cattle and us is that there is something here we think. And that's the precise thing we don't do. Human mind 99% remains unutilized. We are so happy doing our sequential things. We are so happy with something called routine. We are so happy not breaking our routine. As soon as something different happens, we are completely upset. We don't want to break it. It's my tea time. Why? Why can't I have a tot of rum at 4 o'clock in the morning when I'm putting a diya, in front of my God? Has someone written there? And I just told Shubhankar a few days back, 5 o'clock, I was just lighting the diya. I said, I've never had wine at 5 o'clock in the morning after I put the diya to God. So I just turned back, opened my fridge, and there was this white wine bottle there. I just gulped 3 sips. The thing is that no, our mind is not supposed to go sequentially. Sequentiality gives us comfort. Routine gives us comfort. There are no challenges. our daily life is all about a routine. I must know exactly what I do, like Shubhankar said. Shubhankar also said one more line. If you really think, he used that line. That's a problem. One doesn't. Why exactly don't we think? 99% of the companies fail, whether they are startups or regular companies, or the bosses fail because of no capacity to think. And because he's got no capacity to think, he wants to actually bulldoze his way through the subordinates.
Yeah.
And now, when you are talking about entrepreneurship, God save you and your company if you do not have the capability to think. And what is this big deal about thinking? We are so happy talking about de bono, the art of lateral thinking. And it is not always about owners. It always is also about the boss, your senior, anyone for that matter who is in the hierarchy. He cannot think. And this precisely is the problem, because of which there are so many schedules that get upset.
Yeah.
Your plans get upset, your ears get upset. One COVID came and the whole industry buckled. Why? We didn't. We, in fact, worked more during COVID and the lockdown, despite sitting at our respective places. We actually enjoyed those days much more because our output was much higher. It didn't upset us. But 90% industry buckled. Why? The topic that we are going to be taking up is about the thinking part. I call something called two-dimensional thinking and a three-dimensional thinking. We are so happy and we sound so intelligent quoting De Bono everywhere. The art of lateral thinking. Thinking out of box, wearing 6 hats. Why do we have to do all that? Why can't you practice thinking every day? You start thinking correctly. What you are doing is you are outdoing De Bono. But we don't, except we must read that book and we just quote and still do exactly what we are used to doing it. The most popular line, think out of box. My question, why did you first get inside the box? Who asked you to get inside the box? You first lock yourself inside the box and thereafter you say, now think out of the box. Who boxed you in? It's you, your boss, your regulations which boxed you in. And suddenly now they want you to think outside the box. No. So first break the box. Accept that there is a serious problem in thinking that you are not doing. That in itself is breaking the box.
Yes.
So once you break that box, automatically you will start understanding how to handle situations. So how exactly do we go about? There are 5-6 terms which are going to be interplaying with each other. What is 2D thinking? What is 3D thinking? What is macro level thinking? And what is micro level thinking? What is a sequential thinking? What is a simultaneous thinking? And how do all of this get plotted on a timeline? How do all of these interplay? Your solution is right in front of you. Whether you want to go for your master's next year, how the company is going to do next year, what should be my strategy 5 years down the line, how should my sales go up, should I hire people, do I need to hire people? All this is happening in the mind. The problem is what with the entrepreneur? The problem with entrepreneur is, and there are huge number of entrepreneurs that I have met, that the job in which I am, the consulting and the interaction that I have. The best part is I have seen more than 99% entrepreneurs know everything. There is nothing that they don't know. And then 99% of the startups fail. I think the question and answer both are clear. They failed because he didn't know.
I think that's a very important point that, uh, firstly, thinking is a skill that is used everywhere, whether it's planning your life, whether it's planning your personal finances, whether it's running a company, whether it's deciding when to marry someone or when to go abroad to study or what course to choose. Any and every place that you need to make a decision in life is where your thinking comes in. And the sad part is that none of us really spend time actively cultivating that as a skill and actively thinking and utilizing our brain. And that's why it's reflected in society also, sir, isn't it? That there are so many startups, there are so many founders, but then they don't really have those core skills that are required to run the company. And at the end of the day, aside from PR and newspaper articles, you don't really see a good business that is built.
They don't have core skills, is what we see.
Yeah.
But do they see? They don't. They know that they know everything. So we talk in terms of revenue. So if your revenues are very high, the guy is good. No, you aren't. The guy is good if the company is running good, even if you don't have revenues. That's a problem. That's what we have to understand. It is not the bank which tells you whether that man is successful. Yes, he earned money, but was he successful? Is thinking. So, how to think, where to think, how to go about it in a very sequential manner so that you don't open books to learn is what we are going to do.
In fact, I just like to point out, at some point in this video, in these series of videos, we are going to come up with a case study that actually I think is live on your website as of right now, sir. It's about the container yard case study.
Yeah, we will do that. Yes, yes,
We'll
yes.
do that at some point. But the reason it just came to mind is because the gist of that entire case study is very simple. That particular company was probably had multiples of crores of turnover every single year, and it still came to a point that they could not pay the salaries of their employees for the next month. So it's simply not a matter of earning revenues. That's just one part, one piece of the jigsaw. And that particular case study, that particular founder and the set of management that they had, all of them really lacked in this core skill of thinking well for the company, thinking very, very broadly, very, very strategically. And that's where we came in in their story. But that's for another time.
What we will do is in this series, once we have finished with this, the thinking part, the series of how exactly to go about it, we will have some episodes where we are discussing our live cases without giving the identity of the people.
Yeah, we'll do that.
And because that is the best learning, like he's talking about a container case. There is another company which was into some absolutely fifth generation electronics. And at each of these places, the problem is only one: the knowledge is absolutely zero. But the founder would always convince himself and the people that he's the best guy. Yeah, you are the best guy in your field. But then at the end of the day, you're running a company. And if you don't think 360 degrees, macro to micro, sequential to simultaneous, don't plot it on timeline, do not plot the events which are fixed in nature, I don't think you deserve to be running a company. Might as well take up a job somewhere. But if you are running a company, you have to accept the fact that yes, you are good in one aspect. Then there are balanced 359-degree aspects there is someone else good at. But you have to do the thinking and you have to know how to think. Thanks a lot. I think I have finished here. So from here we go to the next episode.
Yes, from here we go on to the next episode where we're going to be talking about all of these terms that Colonel Pandey brought out: macro, micro, simultaneous thinking, vertical thinking, all of these. We'll start off with an in-depth discussion on macro to micro thinking, which probably is the starting point in almost everything that we discuss when it comes to thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See you then in the next episode, the episode number 5. This was episode number 4. Thank you and bye-bye.
Bye.